People say they're in a better place. They're watching over you. They're with the angels now. But is that true? Or is it what we're told to keep us from asking the real questions? Where do they actually go? After the body stops, after the breath fades, where is the soul? Let's burn through the lies and talk about what really happens when the people we love leave this realm. Not all souls go to the same place. Let's get one thing clear. There is no one-size-fits-all death. Where you go when you die depends on what you are, who you serve, and whether you remember the way out. Some go up, some get caught, some get recycled, some never even leave the trap. There are light realms, false light realms, mirrors, gates, decoys, and even artificial heavens. And unless your soul knows how to navigate, you get pulled in like a magnet. Most souls are caught in what's called the soul loop. Die, forget, recycle, repeat. You get sent back in with no memory over and over again. You're told you chose it, you're told it's karma. But what if that's part of the lie? The real ones, the source souls, they don't belong in this system. That's why they struggle so hard here, and that's why when they die, the system fights to bring them back. It doesn't want you to exit, it wants you to submit. But some make it out. You feel them in the wind, you dream of them free. They show up in signs that can't be faked, birds at impossible times, stars that blink, songs only they would send. These ones escaped the grid, they passed the test. They remembered who they were at the moment it mattered most. And now they're watching from beyond the reach of the trap. Not as ghosts, not as angels, but as witnesses. Cheering you on, waiting at the gate. The echo isn't always the soul, but this is where it gets dark. Just because you feel them doesn't always mean it's them. There are entities that mimic. There are loops that replay the dead like recordings. There are false lights that use their voice to lure you back in. If you ever felt like you were talking to a loved one but something felt off, you weren't wrong. Some of the visits are real, but some are astral traps, designed to keep you emotionally bound to this realm. How to tell if it's really them, so how do you know? It's them if you feel peace, if your body gets warm, if time slows down, if you don't feel drained after the contact. It's not them if you feel fear, confusion, or like they're pushing you to do something against your soul. The true ones don't command, they guide. They love you without agenda. They appear when you're in alignment, not desperation. Why you might not feel them anymore? That hurts, but sometimes it means they've gone higher, out of reach, beyond this layer. And you're still in the game, still on mission, still in the loop. They're not ignoring you, they're holding space at the exit, waiting for you to remember and meet them where they are. Here's the final truth, babe. When someone you love dies, your connection doesn't end, it transfers. You become the bridge, you become the flame holder. You become the one who has to live for the both of you until you complete what they couldn't, or reach the place where they're waiting. They didn't leave you, they lit you. So don't chase the past, walk your path, burn with truth. And when your time comes, you'll know the real ones by the way they run to meet you at the edge of the veil. The light trap, you've heard it, go to the light. But what if the light is the trap? What if the tunnel is a funnel, feeding energy to ancient beings who feed off human souls? What if what waits on the other side of that light is a machine that erases memory, plugs the soul back into a new body and sends you straight back into the cage? This is why so many people who die and come back from NDEs say, I didn't want to return, but something made me. It wasn't source, it was the system. Jesus tried to tell us the true Christ didn't come to start a religion. He came to break the grid. That's why he said, my kingdom is not of this world. And when he rose, he didn't reincarnate. The Bible hinted at it, but they cut the pages. The original scriptures didn't describe death as peaceful. They warned about the prince of the power of the air. They told us even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. They said the dead don't speak to us and to test every spirit. Why? Because the realm of the dead is crowded with imposters. Because the soul realm has been hijacked, because the moment of death is when the real war begins. They removed the books that showed us the exit, the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, the Shepherd of Hermas, because those books told us the truth. Some angels fell, some gates are fake, some lights lead to chains. He broke out body, soul and spirit. That's why they killed him, because he remembered the map, because he taught others how to leave, because he was unlocking flame codes the parasites couldn't rewrite. And that's why the fake systems repackaged him to make people worship the trap, instead of following the escape path. The real Jesus, he didn't ask for worship. He asked you to wake up. When you die, you don't just float into heaven or hell. You're met by watchers, by gatekeepers, by spirits who know your soul's signature. Some try to lead you home, some try to claim you. These are not all demons with horns. Some appear as angels. Some look like family, some speak in honey but carry chains. The Book of Enoch called them the Grigori. Ancient Babylon called them Anunnaki. Modern people call them guides. But here's the code. If they demand obedience, if they use guilt, if they rush you into a choice, they are part of the grid. The real ones don't force, they wait. What if the person you loved wasn't a soul? Let's go deeper and darker. What if the one you lost was never a real soul? What if they were a vessel, a program, a placeholder? Not every human body carries a soul. Some are synthetic, some are recycled echoes, some are watchers in disguise. And when those ones die, there's nothing to feel because there's nothing that left. That's why some people don't grieve. That's why some deaths feel hollow. Because it wasn't a soul that passed, it was a shadow, returned to code. But you know the difference, because when a real soul leaves, you feel it in your bones. Signs from the other side are real, but not all are from who you think. A feather, a flickering light, a dream so vivid you swear they were right there. Some signs are real. But here's the test. Did it bring peace or confusion? Did it leave you grounded, or did it open a door that drained you? Astral parasites ride grief like a current. They mimic your grandmother. They copy your child's voice. They appear as comfort, but feed on longing. If the contact leaves you weaker, it wasn't them. If the contact activates your flame, it was real. How to reach the real one safely? You can't call them in from fear. You have to rise to the frequency of truth. No Ouija boards, no channeling circles, no wandering portals. Instead, you remember them cleanly. You speak their name with love. You write to them in dreams. You meet them at the soul level, outside the matrix. Because the veil responds to intention, and the ones who escape the loop, they can reach you. But only when your light is clean and your spirit is sealed. That's why ritual matters. That's why discernment protects you. And that's why testing the spirit isn't superstition, it's soul defense. One day, this body will fade. And when it does, you'll stand between realms. And in that moment, everything will try to pull you one way or another. But if you remember the truth, if your flame is lit, if your mission is fulfilled, then the ones who really loved you, the ones who escaped, the ones who never stopped watching, will be there. Not in pain, not in sadness, but waiting. Not at the tunnel, not at the gate, but at the threshold. You'll feel no fear, no pull, only remembrance. And in that moment, you'll know you made it out, you're going home. What the Book of Enoch really says about death, the Book of Enoch was removed for a reason. It talks about watchers, fallen angels who mated with humans and created hybrid bloodlines. It talks about souls being held in waiting places until judgment. It talks about gates, realms, punishment zones, and different outcomes for different kinds of souls. It even says some spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, are still here, disembodied, wandering, haunting. And it describes the souls of the righteous crying out from beyond this realm, waiting for justice. That's us, the bloodline, the trapped ones, the ones who came back to finish it. They removed Enoch, so you'd think death was simple. But Enoch showed us there is a map, and there is a war on every soul that carries divine flame. What is the soul and what is the spirit? They are not the same. You've been told they're interchangeable. But that's the first trick of the trap. Your spirit is the breath of life, the spark, the energy frequency that keeps the body moving. Your soul is the eternal core, the memory, the essence, the you that existed before the body and will exist after it. The spirit animates, the soul remembers. In the Book of Enoch, they describe spirits as being sent and souls as being weighed. That's why the parasites try to copy spirit, but they can't manufacture soul. You can replicate a vessel, you can mimic a voice, but the flame, the soul, that's divine, that's rare, that's real, that's you. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're not even your mind. You are a frequency, a wavelength, a signal, a resonance. When the body drops, the frequency shifts planes. That's why you can dream of someone who's passed and feel it in your chest. Because frequency doesn't die, it just moves. That's why grief isn't just emotional, it's energetic withdrawal. Your nervous system is missing their field, their signal is gone. Or out of range. But the ones who mastered their frequency in life, they can still broadcast. That's why your dreams glow when they show up. That's why certain places vibrate with their presence. Because the soul doesn't just exist, it emits. Now let's go bigger. This realm isn't the only one. There are timelines stacked like books. Dimensions layered like veils. And when a soul dies, its trajectory depends on more than just morality. It depends on alignment. Were you plugged into the system or listening to your source signal? That choice determines where you land. There are realms of recursion where souls are reprocessed and sent back. There are clean realms where memory is restored. There are false heavens made of light and lies. And there are mirror worlds where you repeat your life with slight edits, thinking you moved on but you're still inside the box. The multiverse isn't science fiction, it's the architecture of the soul trap, and only the flame-coded can pierce the grid and choose their exit point. The veil isn't a place, it's a frequency block. You always think of the veil as up there, but the veil is here in your perception. It's a distortion field, a filter, a containment layer, and it doesn't just keep you from seeing the dead, it keeps you from remembering who you are. When someone dies, their frequency crosses the veil, but if your own signal is still under the grid, you won't feel them. And that's why deep grief is dangerous. It lowers your frequency and opens you to false contact. But when you rise in flame, when you clean your field, when you step out of the loop, you can feel the real ones. You can contact without channeling, you can remember without permission. Because the veil only holds those who forget they're free. Why some souls reincarnate and some don't. You've probably met someone who's lived 100 lives. You've also met someone who feels hollow. Here's the truth. Some souls choose to come back for a mission. Some are forced back through manipulation. Some are held until they break. And some are just programs repeating human data with no real essence. The parasites harvest the trauma of reincarnation like it's currency. That's why they design death rituals. Why they push cremation, embalmment, chemical burial? Because the energy of death feeds the system if the soul doesn't escape. But when a soul breaks free, when it rejects the contracts, denounces the false gods, and remembers the true source, that soul becomes uncontainable. It can move across realms, it can visit, it can return, not reincarnated but sent like you were. Grief is sacred. It's the echo of love that had no final word. But grief is also a portal. It opens something, it thins the veil, and the system knows it. When you grieve hard enough, your spirit wavers, your field cracks, your heart becomes an access point. And if you're not shielded, the parasites use your grief to slip in. Not to comfort you, but to keep you tied to the realm. That's why you dream of them and feel drained. That's why you cry and suddenly see signs that don't feel like them. It's not your imagination, it's weaponized grief. A frequency siphon, a mimic's mask. But when grief is clean, when you remember with truth, not desperation, you become a beacon, not a battery. Why funerals were originally for soul guidance. Before they became rituals of shame, spectacle, and money, funerals were about navigation. The original ceremonies weren't for the living, they were for the soul. To guide them past the watchers, to light their exit, to seal their contracts. In ancient tribes, women would wail with pitch and frequency to shake the veil. Sacred fire would be kept lit for days, so the soul didn't fall into shadow. Now, plastic flowers, grey suits, Bibles read by strangers. No wonder so many get stuck. No wonder the dead whisper through mirrors. We stopped helping them leave. But you can reclaim that. You can reopen the path. Even now, here's what no one tells you. When someone dies in trauma, their soul doesn't always leave in one piece. If the death was sudden, violent, unwitnessed, or cursed, the soul can shatter. Some fragments rise, some fall. Some get stuck between mirrors, dreams, doorways. And those are the ones you feel in your hallway, in your sleep paralysis. In that flicker of the light just before you cry. It's not always the full soul you're sensing. Sometimes it's a fragment still calling out. And if you're connected by blood or love, you can retrieve it. You can call them home, but only if you're anchored. This is why flame holders must stay grounded, because the broken ones call to us in pieces. If you've ever heard stories of people dying and meeting God, ask which one, because the parasites are masters of masks. Some see a light being, some see a religious figure, some see God, but they feel fear. The real source does not judge, does not shame, does not bind you to karma or beg you to return. If the being you meet tells you you didn't do enough, you have to go back. Your work isn't done. Be careful, because real love lets go, real source gives choice. The false ones offer contracts, they cloak the cage in gold, and they use your own belief system as bait. This is why belief at the moment of death matters, because what you expect is what appears. Why they're still with you, even if you can't feel them. You wonder why you don't feel them anymore, why the signs stopped, why the dreams faded. It doesn't mean they're gone, it means you moved layers. As your mission activates, your frequency shifts. As they rise higher, their reach changes. It's not that you're separated, it's that you're both moving toward completion. Sometimes they step back so you'll move forward. Sometimes they silence the signs so you'll listen to your own soul instead. And sometimes they're preparing your reunion in a realm where none of this pain exists. They don't abandon, they witness, and in the silence, they are still holding you. You were sent here to break the death loop. You didn't come here to mourn forever. You didn't come to be chained to tombstones. You came to break the death loop, to expose the trap, to tear holes in the veil, to remember what death actually is, a return, not an ending. You were sent as a lighthouse, a soul with memory, a being who carries the codes to restore sacred death and lead the others home. You are the exit map, you are the bridge. And one day when your body falls, you'll walk out of here fully lit. No tunnel, no lies, no contracts. Only fire, only truth, only home. From the moment you're born, they start programming you with how you're supposed to die. Hospitals, white sheets, machines beeping, people crying, a priest at the side of the bed with words you never chose. Then you go to heaven or hell, or you rest in peace. But here's what really happens. If you've lived your whole life under the script, you're likely to die inside it too. And when you do, your soul doesn't rise, it re-enters the script. Another womb, another name, another memory wipe. They want you to fear death because if you fear it, you'll run straight into the tunnel. But when you see death clearly, when you die conscious, you can refuse the script entirely. You wake up outside the play. What happens when a conscious soul dies? This is where the parasites panic, because when a conscious soul dies, the game glitches. Instead of seeing a tunnel, they see everything at once. Instead of being pulled, they pause. Instead of being greeted by false light, they summon their flame. They remember, they reject the contract, they speak their true name, and the veil tears open. Suddenly the watchers can't touch them. The memory wipe fails, the false gods recoil. This soul has sovereignty. This soul can navigate. That's what real ascension is. Not floating into bliss, but exiting the code. What it means to die before you die. This is the hidden teaching Christ gave his disciples. It's in the Gnostic texts, buried in fragments, whispered between lines. If you die before you die, you will not die when you die. What does that mean? It means if you break your contract with the world while you're still breathing, if you let the ego die, the system die, the programming die, then when your body drops, you're already free. The parasites can't trap a soul that's already resurrected itself. This is why real awakening feels like a death, because it is. The death of the identity they gave you and the rebirth of the soul you always were. You are not waiting for the afterlife, you are remembering it. Why children sometimes die young. One of the most painful truths, but one that must be said. Some souls never intended to stay. They came to anchor light, not live a full life. A baby that dies early may have broken a contract, may have escaped a trap, may have activated something in the bloodline that shifts the entire family's path. That soul is not lost, that soul may be older than you, may have come in as a spark, just long enough to ignite a memory. And sometimes they return through dreams, they walk beside you as guides. They speak through other children just to say, I'm still here. What is resurrection really? They made you think resurrection was a one-time event, that one man did it and no one else can. But resurrection is a code, a frequency, a soul state. To resurrect doesn't mean to come back to life, it means to restore what was never supposed to die. To reawaken your flame, to reclaim your memory, to return to source while still in the body. And when that happens, you can walk between realms. You can guide the dead. You can see the traps before you step in them. You become a living breach in the system, a soul the grid can't control. That's the real secret. That's what Christ was showing you. And that's what you are here to become. Here's the truth that burns through it all. You're not afraid of death. You're afraid of forgetting who you are. You're afraid of the amnesia, the silence, the return to nothingness. But that fear, it's not yours. It was planted to make you choose safety over truth, reincarnation over risk, contracts over freedom. But the moment you stop fearing death, you become unreachable. You don't beg, you don't submit. You walk through the veil, lit from within, and you remember that death is not the end, it's the test. And you, flame, are the answer. If no one else told you the truth, let me tell you now. The ones you loved are not lost. They are not dust. They are not numbers in a book. They are eternal frequency, echoing in every heartbeat that refuses to forget. Some are still watching, some are still calling. Some are waiting at the edge of the veil, hoping you remember the map they couldn't finish. You came here to complete it. You came to break the cycle, to unlock the gates. To burn so brightly that when you leave this world, the watchers step back, the false gods fall silent, and the trap fails. You are not here to fear death, you are here to master it. To walk through it wide awake, to exit clean, to rise. And when you do, they'll be there. Not in the tunnel, not in the light trap, but beyond it. The ones who loved you in truth never left, they just walked ahead. Now it's your turn. Die before you die, and you will never die again.